Okay, so what we're doing is we're just going to take a couple more notes from class today. And so we've already done 3 examples, and so we're just going to kind of write more examples. You could go ahead and put it on the same page underneath if you have space, or you could put it on the page next to it. So what I'd like us to do is let's first of all remember what's going on. So we're focused on MDAS. And remember for MDAS, M and D are together. It doesn't necessarily mean that M has to come before D. It just means whatever you see first, that's what you do first, for left to right. And remember, MDAS, MD, the MD is multiplying and dividing. And then the AS, that is adding and subtracting. And it's the same idea. You don't necessarily always have to do adding first. You have to go what's left to right. Okay? All right, so now I'm going to look at these problems. I would like you to pause the video and try it, and then we'll see how you did, if you remember from your notes. So again, I like to do one step at a time right now. I know some of you might be okay with skipping steps, but I'm asking you not to skip for just a little bit of a couple days. Okay, so the first thing I see, I look for multiplying and dividing. Okay, so I see a multiplying here, and I see a dividing here, and I see a multiplying here. So remember, your goal is always to go the first one. So I'm going to do this one first. And so negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And then I just bring everything down. Okay, I still have some multiplying and dividing. I should probably, let me change that color. I should do purple, because purple is the multiplying and dividing now that I think about it. And so I still have a multiplying and dividing. The first one I see is this one, so I do that now. So I get negative 6 plus 3 times 5. And then I look back, I still see another multiplying and dividing right here, so I'm going to do that one. And so negative 6 plus 15. And now we have to use our addition rules. These are different signs subtract. 15 minus 6 is 9, and since 15 is bigger, it's a positive 9. So same idea for number 5. I'd like you to do one step at a time, and then when you think you have it, press play. All right, so again, let's look. I got a dividing, a multiplying. This right here is multiplying. When there's a number next to a parenthesis like that, it's multiplying. So I have some different multiplying, so I'm going to do this one first. 12 divided by 3 is 4, but because I see this negative right here, I bring it down. Okay, and then I'm just going to bring everything else down. Okay, so let's go back. I see another multiplying right here, so I'm going to do that one. So 4 times 5 is 20. I see this one negative, so I bring it down. I'm going to bring everything else down. I still see another multiplying right here. 3 times 5 is 15, but you notice I have 2 negatives, so I bring them both down. Bring everything else down. And now you have to recognize what happens when you have 2 negatives. Remember, this is when we circle it, and we make it a plus. And so now I have 2 operations to do. I'm going to start on the left. So negative 20 plus 15. So those are different signs because this is a negative 20. This is a positive 15. Different signs subtract. 20 minus 15 is 5. And so I get a 5. But because the bigger number was negative, my answer is negative. And then now I bring down the plus 6. Again, negative 5 and a positive 6. Different signs subtract. And 6 minus 5 is 1. And since the 6 is bigger, it's a positive 1. Okay. All right, there's one other type of problem that I wanted to do for our notes, and it's right here. Okay, so what we're going to do is evaluate. And evaluate is just a fancy word for plug in. If I can circle out what's going on here. There we go. Evaluate just means to plug in. Okay, so I would like you to copy all this down. And when you're ready to do the problems, go ahead and press play. Okay, so when I evaluate or plug in, what I do is I take my three values, make them all different colors. Oops, I don't need to highlight the word and. Those three values, and I plug in with letters. Now, when I plug in with parentheses. And the reason I do that is because sometimes when you leave the parentheses off, you're going to be wrong. But if you follow the parentheses and use parentheses correctly, you will always get it right. So what happens is I have 2 with an A. Instead of an A, I write parentheses. I have 3 with a B, and instead of a B, I write parentheses. Now, my A value was green. See this? So that means I'm going to put that green number here. My B value was blue, so I'm going to put the blue number here. And I'm only going to highlight like this on this first one just so that you can kind of see. And you don't have to highlight it if you don't have a highlighter. Okay, so for A, I plug in a 2. And for B, I plug in a -3. Now we do our order of operations. So remember, MDAS. And what were the colors we were using? I do want to use the colors for that. We were using purple and green. So where's my purple? Purple for M, MD. And then green for adding and subtracting. Okay, so I look for my multiplying first, and I have a multiplying right here. And so that's going to be 2 times 2, which is 4, and then I bring the other one down. So I go back, do I have any more multiplying? Why, yes, you do have more multiplying. Okay, so 3 times 3 is 9. You see how there's one negative? I'm going to write that negative. And now I just have one operation to do, 4 plus -9. These are a +4 and a -9, so different signs subtract. And 9 minus 4 is 5. Now, since the 9 was the bigger number and it was negative, I'm going to bring down the negative. Okay. I'd like you to try number 7 on your own. So I'm going to write the 4, and instead of an A, I'm going to put parentheses. And instead of a B, I'm going to put parentheses. So go ahead and try it, and then press play when you think you have it. So for A, you should have plugged in a 2, and for B, you should have plugged in -3. And so I do my multiplying first. 4 times 2 is 8, and I bring everything else down. Now I do my other multiplying right here. 2 times 3 is 6, but there's 2 negatives, so I write those 2 negatives. And now you should recognize 2 negatives are next to each other, so I circle and make them a plus. And now this is 8 plus 6, and 8 plus 6 is 14. Okay, last one, same idea. So I have I don't have any numbers. Oh my gosh. So no numbers just means a lot of parentheses. So a B and C on top, an A on the bottom, and then a B. Okay, so go ahead and plug that in. And if you want to try it, go ahead and try it. But let's start off by plugging it in. Okay, so for B was -3, C was 4, A is 2, and B is -3. Okay, so this is the part that I'm assuming you're going to have questions on. Like, what do you do here? Do you see how these two are on top together? Because they're on the same part of the fraction together, that's what we're going to do first. We're going to do this first. And so I get 3 times 4 is 12. Because there's one negative, I write that one negative. And then I bring down everything else. Okay, I still have another one. This is my dividing. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Because I have this negative, I bring it down. I bring down everything else. Okay, so it looks like this 6 is touching, but it's not. There's a negative in between. This is actually one of those wick-wack you guys talk about. Some of you talk about. We can circle and make it plus. So now I have a -6 and a positive 3. Those are different signs, so I subtract. 6 minus 3 is 3. And since the 6 is bigger, the 3 gets the negative. Okay, so remember, really take it slow. All multiplying and dividing go together, and you go left to right. It's not necessarily multiplying first and then dividing. You have to go by the order of what you see.